So these are the first four words that we've worked on so far. So let's see how we did. Um, all right, got one more in. Okay, so there was one that was kind of hard. All right, looks like everyone got the first one correct, so very good. So we have that word integral, which means, really important, key, right? Um, an essential part, right? And it is incomplete without that integral piece. So having a strong lineup of relief pitchers is integral to an MLB team's success throughout the baseball season. So you guys did a very good job. Integral is an adjective. So it's one of those words that describes nouns, things, places, people, right? And so of course it's describing the quality of the strong lineup of relief pitchers, okay? All right, let's see how we did here. It's about 50-50 on this one, but and we kind of noticed this yesterday when we did this activity in morning class. Integration kind of works here. It's not, I would say it's like a runner up, but automation is the word that we want here. Okay. And hopefully you guys remember automate has that kind of, right, that we're using automatic processes for something that formerly required some human effort. Okay. And so it's more about kind of replacing the human roles in the grocery store, a little bit more than integrating, but you can see how it does integrate technology as well. So, like I said, it's kind of a runners up. So if you chose integration there, I would still probably give you half a point. Okay. Deviation kind of maybe works a little bit here because, of course, we're moving away from kind of that traditional or, traditional way that they used to be kind of set up and run. So it is kind of moving in a different direction, but I don't think deviation works too well there. So hopefully everyone feels good about automation. Grocery stores have a lot more automation than they used to, including features like self-checkout and online orders. Okay. And of course, I used our example signal phrase to try and help you guys. Okay, looks like almost everyone got number 3 here. So good job here. So this uses our verb deviate. So the sentence, the herd of elk had to deviate from their usual route to the creek because the severe storm had knocked several trees down or had knocked down several trees. So good. So deviate, right? Hopefully that picture kind of helps you remember what it means, right? But if we deviate, we're going away from an expected course. And of course, in our example with the herd of deers, it's very literal, but of course we know that that can kind of happen in more of an abstract way too, right? So good job there, deviate. And so deviate from a usual route. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So we're going off in kind of a different direction for some reason. So deviating usually is the effect of some cause, right? So here, right, the elk had to deviate from their usual route. That was the effect. What was the cause? The storm and the fallen trees. Okay. All right. So this one was kind of challenging for you guys. Ambiguous was one of the first words that we've done, and I'm not sure if anyone was around back in August 27 when we did this one. So it's okay if you weren't super familiar with the word ambiguous. But that was the word that we needed here. So the sentence is the end of the movie was ambiguous. So you still could not tell who exactly the killer was. So the word ambiguous means, right, open to multiple interpretations or meanings, which makes whatever it is kind of feel vague or uncertain. Okay. So ambiguous is when we really don't know, the exact answer. So hopefully that makes sense with the sentence, right? if we still couldn't tell who exactly the killer was, that means, right, that it's open to multiple interpretations. We might all have our own kind of theory there, okay? Deviated doesn't really make sense there. Integrating doesn't really make sense there. But hopefully with a little bit more practice, we'll get used to this word ambiguous. It's very useful because, of course, especially with our academic type topics, things become pretty ambiguous at times, right? Just because they're so complicated and there's so many kind of possibilities. All right, looks like most everyone did okay here. And I think similar to our other automation integration question, integrate is also, it kind of works here. It's not the best word, but it'll work. So here, now we've used our verb form of our word. In sentence 3 or sentence 2, we had the noun automation. And automation, right, is basically the process of automating. Here, we're talking about it as an action. So engineers are still working to completely automate automobiles so they are self-driving and safe. Okay. And so once again, this whole idea of automating is kind of taking out the human element and having it done automatically, right? Either through some kind of robotics or some kind of machine or mechanism, or a combination, right? So integrate, once again, kind of works, but we're not really integrating automobiles, we're automating them, okay? All right, looks like you guys did okay on this one, which also had, right, that word ambiguous in it. Hopefully you noticed that, and maybe it just sounded the best out of these choices. But here we have the word unambiguously. So that would be, right, the un means that it's not ambiguous. And so if something is unambiguous or done unambiguously, then it's not open to multiple interpretations, right? It's very clear and direct, the interpretation. It's unambiguous, okay? So if we look at our sentence here, I wish that my boss gave directions more unambiguously. So does that mean that if I wish my boss gave directions more unambiguously, does the boss give good directions? Do you want to have to deal with trying to follow ambiguous directions?
Like more clear?
Yeah, so what we're saying here is in their current state, the boss is bad at giving directions and we want them to be more unambiguous. Yeah, right. And so yeah, so here we're saying we wish they did a better job of giving clear, direct instructions. And of course, depending on the job, well, hopefully everyone wants to get it right. And of course, if there's like a specific way it's supposed to be done, it's always helpful to have that clear if someone's expecting that way. And so hopefully that makes sense how this sentence works. All right. So by wishing that the boss gave directions more unambiguously, we're saying it as it stands now, the boss gives very ambiguous directions. There's too many possible ways to interpret the directions, and I don't feel like I know exactly what I'm being asked to do. I'm sure that's never happened to anyone. So good. So 2 of you guys got that one. Okay. Looks like almost everyone got this one as well, about half of us. So here, the word we wanted was non-deviating. Okay. And so just like our un here, non also kind of means not deviating, right? And so the teens' parents were non-deviating in their rule of a midnight curfew. So if they're non-deviating about the rule, is it a strict rule or is it a more relaxed rule? It's non-deviating, so it's not going to go off from the path. So it's strict, actually. Does that make sense? How we would maybe say that. So yeah. So if a rule is non-deviating, then right, it's not going off the intended path, right? It's not, it's staying on the expected course. It's basically almost like stuck on that course, right? There's not a lot of wiggle room. So yeah, ambiguous kind of works here. And of course, if the teen's parents were ambiguous in their rule of a midnight curfew, then it would be more relaxed, right? Because you're like, I think they wanted me home at midnight, but maybe they said 10, I don't know. So it could, depending on how they spoke to the kid, right? It could come across as ambiguous, but usually we would probably use this word non-deviating to make it clear how strict they are, right? They're not willing to budge if you're non-deviating. You're like on your track. Okay. And then it looks like half of us got this one as well. So unintegral, we were adding that un prefix in there. And so, of course, that means it's not integral, which would mean it's not important, not necessary, right? It can be a part, but it's not like a required part. And that's why we get our sentence. Meg decided to take an art history class in the spring, even though it is unintegral to her earning her degree in mechanical engineering. And hopefully you guys would agree that generally mechanical engineers are generally not expected to have knowledge of art history, right? It's not integral, hopefully, I would think, to this job. So it is unintegral, right? It's a part, but it's not a necessary part. Okay. So hopefully that felt okay. All right. And like I said, some of you guys did really well. Think about these words. Think about how we would go about trying to choose the correct word, thinking about our word parts and stuff like that. But all in all, pretty good. Questions? All right. So that's where that was our warm up for tonight. We'll probably work on a new word on next Tuesday. We'll add more words to our journal here. But that's always there if you want to take a look at it. I don't know where I'm going. All right, let's hop into our lesson then. So Tuesday we started lesson 4. Are you opening? Okay. All right. Hopefully everyone on Zoom can see my screen. Okay. So we started unit 4, and so now we're kind of digging into what we're calling illustration and descriptive relationships. And so this is about using specific examples and details and explanations, right, to support ideas. Okay. And we do see this as kind of a standalone text structure, but I would say compared to a lot of the other ones that we've looked at or are going to look at, the examples and descriptions get sprinkled in to a lot of different text types just because, right, this is how we basically share information. So hopefully everyone's feeling good about how these work. And of course, the bottom of page 1 gives us kind of our list of connecting words, which help us, right, show this relationship, make that bridge between ideas so people know what we're talking about. And so we looked at it at kind of the sentence level, or at least this kind of sentence connecting level. And so I think everyone's feeling pretty good about these kind of illustration words. Pretty straightforward, nothing hopefully feeling too confusing or hard or anything about this. And then of course, the most important thing is when you recognize the signal phrase, you know that that specific example is going to follow right after that phrase. And so if you're asked to look for that example, then hopefully it's doable. All right, and so we looked at one possible text structure that we might find that relates to these ideas. And so the first type of text structure we might see is called a definition and example pattern. It might be called a definition paragraph or something like that. And so we saw that when we build this type of paragraph, our first sentence, our topic sentence begins with our term. Excuse me. Begins with the term and its definition, and then follows with, right, 2 specific examples to help illustrate, right, the definition and what it would look like in real life. So pretty straightforward, not too hard, hopefully. Stop me if you have any questions. So we looked on page 4 and got a little bit more details about what we could do to, right, define words in a paragraph. So we already talked about examples. I know we worked hard on Tuesday night making this idea of what's the difference between an example versus an explanation. Hopefully, if you were in class on Tuesday, hopefully it felt better after we talked about it. But remember, this example is going to be something specific to the real world, right? And so, you know, it should have something really, you know, specific, sorry. um, so that's what's gonna make something an example, whereas, right, an explanation right? And so an explanation is going to be general. It might kind of, you know, give us a little bit of details, but not a lot. And then, right. So it's almost like the example is going to be zoomed into one specific case, whereas the explanation is a little bit more what we would maybe think of as zoomed out, and a little bit more general. So it's just going to kind of give overall details or show how it works overall. Okay. We can also use, right, comparisons, and here comparison, right, we're focused on that idea of similarities. Okay. Oh, lost Kayla. Bummer. And then you can also do that saying what the word is not. Okay. And so, of course, if that's what you're choosing to do, then we would see some language, you know, that it's not. Same with, okay. All right. So just a couple of ways of supporting these types of things. So we went through that and we began to once again kind of look at this relationship between the main idea and the sentences that follow it and the kind of, right, supporting details that they provide. Okay. And so then we started talking about one reading strategy, which is called scanning. And this is when we're looking for some kind of specific piece of information. Okay. Then we can scan through the text just for that chunk and get the information that we need. Okay. And so we went through this little technique of how do you scan for specific information, okay? And so, of course, knowing the kind of information you're looking for is the first step, which means usually for our purposes, we have to read the question, right? That's how we're going to find out what we need to know. And then we'll know what to look for in the text. And hopefully you guys agree that things like names, dates, times, and keywords are kind of easy to locate like in a paragraph or a text. Why are these easy to kind of scan for in a text? What makes them easy to find? Thoughts? It was quiet Thursday this morning too. So of course, names and often keywords are probably going to be capitalized, right? So capitalized letters hopefully are easier to notice or to look for, right? And then of course, times and dates, generally there's going to be some numbers, right, put in there. So that was, hopefully, right, why it's easy to scan for that. And then of course, when you know what you're looking for, then you can anticipate what the information is going to look like, just like we kind of said up here with our 4 potential types. Hint number 3, right, has us kind of zoom out and look at the whole text, how it's organized, what features, how is it laid out on the page and formatted, and how does that help us know and find certain information. And then, of course, keywords might also be bolded or italicized in a text. So if it's not like a capitalized word, a proper noun, it still might be something that the author formats so that it's more noticeable because they're expecting it to be kind of an unknown but keyword. Okay. And then, of course, number 4 is hard because you have to kind of ignore what you're not looking for, which can be hard, especially if you're not confident. But like I said, this technique is really helpful. So we practiced this a little bit on page 7, and it seemed like everyone was doing well. So let's move on, and I want you guys to do the exercise on page 8. So at the bottom of page 7, okay, it gives you the directions. So you're going to have 3 groups of sentences, okay? And so one sentence is the main idea, and the other 2 are supporting details. So go ahead and label the sentences, deciding whether it's a main idea or supporting idea, okay? And remember that, right? So if you're having trouble kind of deciding which is which, think about, okay, which one kind of has the most general ideas and information, or is it very, very, very specific? So here we look at our example, our main idea. There are 2 species of large, powerful reptiles called alligators. And so right away, I've already kind of showed that there's, kind of 2 parts there. Pretty general, right? Because it doesn't tell us the names or anything, but then when we get into our specific details, right? The American alligator lives in the southern United States, and then the Chinese alligator makes its home in the Yangtze River. So hopefully you can see how this one is more general and these two are specific. So go ahead and on page 8, work on 1 through 5. Okay. And I'm sorry if you guys can't see that super well. But if you have your, no, if you have your packet, this is page 8. Okay. Let me know when you have your 5 kind of chunks of sentences labeled. Okay. 1 is the main idea, and for each main idea, there'll be 2 supporting ideas. Okay. Or supporting details, sorry. Same thing. Same pig, different shade of lipstick. All right. Does anyone need more time on these? Did you get them all labeled? Good, Susanna? Okay. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. Let's see what we got here. So for number one, which among these three sentences is the main idea? The first, second, or third sentence?
Popular fashions. Am I?
That's the main idea. Popular fashion styles influence the kind of clothes people buy and wear.
It's what I think. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else think a different sentence? Yeah. Okay, so Susanna's thinking maybe the first sentence here is more of the main idea.
I was
Uh,
thinking the same as well too, but yeah.
it is, yeah. So our main idea here is that, whoopsie, whoa, hit the wrong button. Yeah. And so I mean it's kind of funny because both of the I guess it's not funny. Whoa, what happened to my thing? Um but yeah, so this first part is a little bit more general, right? And then right, a phrase like this, very general, right? Depends on several things. Doesn't even tell us four things, you know. So this is definitely super general, and so then it tells us climate and lifestyle are a factor, and fashion styles are also a factor. So yeah, so that means that we have a supporting detail here and a supporting detail here. Okay. How about for number two? Where's our main idea? First, second, or third sentence?
I think it's the second one.
I say
Good.
yeah, I agree with that.
Good job, Danny. Good job, Michael. Good. So just like number one, right, in sentence two here, we have, once again, just this very general type of phrase, right? Many different types of music. Okay. So pretty general, good. And so then we can see that they give us lots of specific types in the other two sentences. So good. Thanks, Nyland. Okay, how about for number three? What's our main idea?
The first sentence.
What? Pretty straightforward, right? Just a definition there. And then you can see that, right? Sentences, the two that follow, right, are specific examples of what an abbreviation is. So sometimes you need like to list the types, other times, whatever your main idea is so specific that then you just want to jump straight to your examples. And so other ways that we might introduce like an example, especially when it's kind of, I was almost going to say a hypothetical situation, but now I'm like, I don't know what we would call that. But you could definitely signal it like that. All right, how about for number four? What is our main idea among these three sentences?
The third sentence.
Yeah, correct. Good job, guys. Good job, Nyland. Good. So we start with mammals, and then once again, right, we get this pretty straightforward, once again, many different types, a wide variety, kind of that same idea of giving us a very kind of general place to start before we start getting more specific. And I guess it's about special teeth. And then you see that we get two different types of mammals. We get carnivores, such as lions and dogs, have sharp teeth for grabbing their prey and tearing its flesh. And then we have herbivores like cows and horses, have broad grinding teeth for eating plants. Still hurts when they bite. just different. One of my former coworkers used to work with like big cats at a zoo, and she was like saying like getting licked by a lion is like uber crazy sandpaper levels of like. Anyway, sorry, I don't know why I was saying that, but probably don't want to get licked from a lion. Period. Okay, number 5. What is our main idea here?
First sentence.
Good. This one for me, I had to read the sentences a couple times, but yes. Good. So one of the oldest newspapers in the world is the Times, which is printed in London, England. The Time was started by John Walter in 1785. The paper was first called Universal Daily Register. Probably makes sense that they would shorten that. The UDR, you know, but good. And so, yeah, nicely done, guys. Any thoughts or questions? Makes sense. Because of course, generally almost, well, science, social studies, and language arts are going to definitely have sometimes where you'll need to find that general main idea. Other times you're going to need to dig in and find specific examples. So, all right. All right. I think you guys are doing okay on those. So just really fast as a group here, if we look at the top of page 9, once again, we've either got a main idea or a supporting sentence or supporting detail. So how would we know for number 1, A or B, which is the main idea?
Main idea is A.
Good. And then the specific supporting detail would be, for example, right? Because that's pretty straightforward. Good. So main idea here, supporting detail here. How about for number 2?
Second.
Second.
B.
Good. Not a very I don't know. Well, like, oh, maybe your food tastes awful because you just have a weak sense of taste. You can see that. I have one of those moms that like sometimes like marinara sauce is like hot, spicy to you're just like, I don't know. How about number 3? Where's our main idea?
The first A.
Good. A is our main idea. And we get that general phrasing, certain taste preferences. Okay. Pretty general, right? And then we get into the taste preferences here. Some people eat too much salt and sugar because they're trying to hide bitter tastes. I don't know if that's a very good detail for that. But all right, how about, comment? All right, number 4, where's our main idea? A or B?
A.
A. More and more. Once again, one of those common kind of general terms. More and more people. Very common, very general. Okay. And even if you think about enjoying spicy food, I'm one of those people who I hate hot mustard, but I love hot peppers. So I don't know what that says about me, but I've tried to like wasabi, tried to like spicy mustard. My brain doesn't like it. How about for number 5, A or B? A, good. Yep. And of course, there's Chinese food would be another huge, really broad category because, of course, each region of China has kind of its own specialty style. Would you agree with this, Danny? Do you agree that
Yes,
it's
I
usually
agree
very
with
healthy?
that. Yeah, there's so many different, like if you're from north, south, east, and west, the totally different style of food from all those. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Just like in America too.
Yeah, I
Pardon?
think from southern China, I think those foods are more healthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of makes sense because if you're in the colder northern areas, maybe you need more
Yeah, they
substantial food.
yeah, they like heavy and spicy. Yeah, keep them warm. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. It's always great when we have an actual expert on hand. All right, and then for number 6, where's our main idea? A or B?
E.
B. Good. Very general there. Let's see. In Ethiopia, it's common to eat food using only your hands. I think I knew that. Um, so once again, more and more people, varies from place to place. Very general. Good. Okay. So now we're going to kind of work on this idea of we have a topic sentence that's going to contain a main idea. And then you'll have 5 potential supporting details. Only one of the 5 is not going to support it. So only check the facts that would support the main idea. So here in our example, the internet provides a format for a huge range of activities. So here's kind of our probably what we're going to, dig into detail wise, description wise. So thousands of companies have websites where customers can see, order, and pay for products. Radio stations can play their programs over the internet. Millions of people send and receive messages by email every day. Museums can display their exhibits on the internet. And so why is C not a good sentence to support our main idea up here?
Because it doesn't. I don't know. It's like a fact, I guess. I don't know.
What was the last part of what you said? I didn't catch it.
Because it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's telling everybody the first email was sent in 1971. It's like, what is that? Doesn't explain an activity. It just says, that the first,
Exactly.
yeah.
Right. It's off topic. And even though that D mentions email, they're talking about email as an activity, whereas C is just giving us information. So if our main idea was about, the history of email or the creation of email, then yes. But if we're talking about a huge range of activities, we want all of our details to, right, lay out the range of possible activities. So beautiful. All right. So go ahead and try the 2 on page 10. Okay. And so it's the same idea. You've got your topic sentence that's going to have your main idea up here. And then here it looks like you have 6 different details, but I think, well, so I'm not sure if there's going to be only one that's not going to fit. There might be more than one, so just pay attention. But I'll let you guys try that on your own for a little bit. All right, how are we doing? You guys got it figured out? Yeah, good. You folks on Zoom ready to talk about page 10? Hopefully. All right. Let's see if I have, ooh, I do have a check mark. All right, so. All right. With their special adaptations, camels are ideally suited to carry heavy loads across dry, hot, sandy deserts. So, they have padded feet that are able to grip well on the sandy ground. Did you guys check it as a good detail?
Yes.
Okay. They are very strong and carry up to 1,000 pounds.
Yes.
Good. I didn't know that. That's a lot. All right. There are two types of camels, the dromedary or single humped camel and the two humped or Bactrian camel.
No.
Check that one? No? Good. Okay. Why are we thinking C is not the best supporting detail there? Or are
Because
we?
it doesn't tell exactly like it doesn't have anything to do with the dry, hot, sandy deserts or them carrying loads, like, or that they can adapt to certain things. It just kind of tells us what two different camels, two types of camels there are, I guess.
Yep. And so for our paragraph, we're mostly concerned about their adaptations and yes, their role as the what are they called? The something of the desert. Like the ships of the desert, I think, or something like that. Good. How about D? Camels will eat almost anything, including thorny shrubs and thistles that will grow in the desert.
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely about them being adapted to the desert. Camels are able to go for days without food as they live off fat stored in their humps. You want to check that one?
Yes.
Yeah, good. They have slit-like nostrils that can be closed down tightly and heavy eyebrows and eyelashes to protect their eyes from sand.
Yes.
Yes. Rugs, tents, and clothes are made from camel hair.
This one I didn't check.
I agree. Suzanne agrees with you as well, Michael. Hopefully, Naylin and Chrislyn, Kayla, and Danny, hopefully you guys are feeling the same. So once again, while it does mention camels, we are not concerned with their hair nor what we can do with their hair. Although I've heard, yeah, good. Heard, I think they do make suits of camel hair, I feel like. They're supposed to be like lightweight or something like that. Anyway. All right. Good job for number 1. All right. Number 2, some insects such as ants, bees, and termites live in highly organized colonies and members have specific jobs to perform. So the queen's job is to mate and lay eggs. Should we include that? Good.
Yes.
The task of some members is to gather food.
Yes.
Yes. Repairing and guarding the nest is the duty of other members. Good.
Yes.
Yeah. Insects feed on a variety of both plants and animals.
No.
Good. Nope. We don't care about what they feed on for this paragraph. Some insects in the colonies take care of the queen and feed and care for the young.
Yes.
Yeah, good. All insects have 3 body parts and 3 sets of legs.
No.
Nope. And then still others whose job is to defend the colony grow large with big heads and powerful jaws. Yes. If you've ever seen those like tanky ants, like they're pretty cool. They get all big, like they get all like hulked out compared to the other ants. So good, you guys are catching on nicely, and I'm glad that you're getting this idea of, and sometimes you'll see some GED questions where you will need to figure out, oh, I need to take this out because it is not supporting the main idea. And I think you guys did a good job of finding what doesn't and why. And so don't get fooled by the fact that there's just like the topics kind of mentioned, because it's always a little bit more specific than just insects. Okay. So very nicely done. All right. So just to keep reminding ourselves here, just another thing to kind of read and work on, but I think you guys are catching on nicely. So another kind of definition type paragraph. Marine debris is a persistent pollution problem in our ocean. Marine debris injures and kills marine life, interferes with navigation safety, and poses a threat to human health. So if you look at that second sentence, how is it supporting the main idea about marine debris? Marine debris. Is it an example, explanation, comparison?
Which sentence are we talking about?
The second sentence here. Marine debris injures and kills marine life, interferes with navigation safety, and poses a threat to human health.
What was it again? You said it's a supporting, right? The kinds of details.
And so is it kind of one of those supporting sentences that offers examples? Is it more one of our kind of explanation type sentences? Is it one of our comparison type sentences?
I'm sorry. What was the first one you said? Example. Yeah. It's like an example.
Good. And so if you're going to say something is a persistent pollution problem, right, then we probably want to figure out what specifically does that mean, right? So we have three, clear kind of examples that are showing us, right, the problematic nature. Okay. Does everyone, when it says marine debris, does anyone have a sense of what that actually is? No. And it kind of says here, right, ranging from soda cans to plastic bags to derelict fishing gear and abandoned vessels. So marine always deals with, right, the sea or the ocean. And of course, debris is basically, waste and whatever is kind of left over. And so debris is just kind of the junk that's just like floating in the ocean. And I know I think it's in the Pacific Ocean. There's supposed to be like a huge garbage patch that they've been working to clean up and stuff. But yeah, right. Pretty much any major body of water that you go to, there's going to be some amount of marine debris. And then hopefully you can understand, of course, if think about like the fish that get caught in nets, in like old fishing nets or birds or something like that. They might eat something that kills them. Of course, if there's really big pieces of debris, like abandoned shipping vessels, right, it might be hard for you to navigate your boat without crashing into it. And then I'm supposing as well, like the marine debris is harmful to our health because it probably pollutes the water, makes it unsafe in various ways. So good. Our oceans and waterways are polluted with a variety of marine debris. So here we get more details, but now rather than, right, examples of why it's a problem, now we get examples of what they look like, right? Soda cans, plastic bags, derelict fishing gear, right? Just threw my whole pole in the water, or the line or something like that. And even, right, some ships that have broken apart. And good. And so today there is no place on Earth immune to this problem. So this would be kind of the beginning of a problem solution text. and they do a really good job, hopefully, of describing the problem, framing it, and making us, inclined to agree that yes, this is problematic. Okay, so good. Nothing too exciting there. Okay. Same thing, but here it's a little bit more literary, but should have the same type of information. So the Great Galveston Hurricane of 1900. Galveston is in Texas. By mid-morning, storm clouds darkened the sky, rain began to fall, and the wind started to pick up. The frightening hurricane hit full force by late afternoon and became increasingly worse as complete darkness fell. The terrified residents of Galveston huddled together in their houses and slowly climbed to upper floors and then attics as the water level crept up in the city. Eventually, the winds of the hurricane rose to 135 miles per hour, a Category 4 storm by today's meteorological standards. The high winds drove a 15-foot storm surge over the city, swamping everything it crossed. So I would say this is because, our topic is more of, kind of an event. I would mostly call this kind of a chronological type paragraph, right? So mostly the details we're getting kind of that play by play, right? And then what did the people do, right? And what was kind of the ultimate. So just mostly wanting us to know just kind of these different text types and how these details get packaged into them. Okay. And of course, anytime you're giving specific details, right? Always helpful. Okay.
So this is chronological, right? Not
I mean, it's still
not
more
process
like,
sequence.
yeah, it's not really a process or a sequence because it's
Okay.
talking about a specific event from the past.
Oh, okay.
Chronological. Whereas a process or a sequence is more in like present tense, right? Do
Okay.
this first, then do this other thing. So I would say pretty much all of our chronological texts are more past tense, and it's going to be talking about like a real event that happened. And so we get a little bit of the kind of the chronology, and then we get some details once again. How did it affect the people, and kind of right overall, what was the, I guess the stats of the storm? I don't know how, how people call that or what you would call that exactly, but good. All right. So go ahead and look at the top of page 12. Okay. We've got another text, and go ahead and see if you can figure out the answers to the 4 questions here. So what word is being defined? What's its definition? Which sentence explains more? And then which sentence does the example begin? Hopefully like 2 minutes and we can talk about this.
I'm done.
Okay, thanks for letting me know. It should be fairly straightforward, but I don't want anyone to feel rushed. Thank you, Chrislyn. Okay, so hopefully you guys are feeling like you're getting this stuff down, able to find the information. All right, what word is being defined in this text?
Acrophobia.
Good.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
was still on mute.
Oh, you're good. Okay, and what's the definition?
It's an intense, unreasonable fear of high places.
Good. And of course, the keywords here are unreasonable, right? It's okay to be afraid of high places, but if you're safe, hopefully not. So which sentence explains more about the word?
3.
No. Sentence 3, for instance, one suffer of extreme. Yeah, it's
Oh, I'm
actually
sorry.
2.
No, it's 2. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You're good. It's sentence 3 is the answer for the next question, right? So good.
Yeah,
And then of
sentence.
course we know very clearly that the example begins in sentence 3. How do we know that?
For instance.
Good. It's signaled very specifically. And so sometimes you have a very detailed multi-sentence example, okay? And so they kind of, go into this kind of chronological story, right? As part of the very detailed example of how, I guess, the acrophobia started. I was trying to decide how afraid of heights I am. Not awful, but not my favorite at the same time. All right. Everyone is doing nicely. Let's see where we're at. Okay, let's try one more activity here. I think we can get through this. So here is another text, okay? And then similar to what we did in our previous units, you're basically kind of unpacking the text into this outline, okay? So they filled in part of it, but we need to find some of the supporting ideas, okay? And hopefully you've noticed that, right? I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with outlines, but right, they use space to kind of signal the importance of the ideas, right? And so if it's all the way to the left, right, like the topic sentence, it's kind of the most general information. And then when we start adding supporting ideas, we're actually going to indent a little bit to share kind of one broad idea and then follow that with a specific detail. So you can kind of see that we have one supporting idea and one detail about it. And then here, 14 red and white stripes. So what is the detail? So it's probably like the meaning of the stripes or something. Okay. For supporting idea C, we have a kind of an overview idea, and then, right, the color symbolizes unity. What is the second detail in this chunk? Okay. Then we have yellow star and crescent moon and two details that follow that. Okay. So see if you can fill in the spots on the outline based on the text. And I'm sorry if it's kind of hard to go between the two, but hopefully that works. All right, you guys wrapping it up or feel like you need more than the 3 minutes to keep working on it? More
I
time?
I
Yeah.
think I'll just go ahead and I think I'm ready.
Oh, okay. What about the rest of you folks? Kayla, Chrislyn, Danny, Nylan, have you guys gotten your outline filled out? It's okay if
Yes.
you have it. Huh?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. Okay then. Cool. All right. So, kind of a cool little paragraph here. So the flag of Malaysia is a famous symbol of my country. It is beautiful and colorful. So I think that's what would be our first supporting idea. Is that what you guys put in there? Um, oops, what do I want? I want this one. So Okay. And so we know that because it has 4 different colors. Okay. The next supporting idea goes into the 14 red and white stripes. What is the detail related to the stripes, the red and white stripes? Oh, and actually, I guess they're up here.
The stripes represent the states and governments.
Good. So very similar to our US flag stripes. Good. And then what is supporting detail C? What's it referring? So we kind of talked about the color and the beauty of the flag overall. Then we talked about the stripes. And then the next thing we're talking about, we know that the color of that other part symbolizes unity. So what is that part?
Different people try to work together.
I don't think so. I think what it's telling us is that once it talks about the stripes, then it moves on to talking about the rectangle in the top left of the flag, right? And that's because the blue symbolizes unity. What else do we know about that area? So
Blue rectangle in top left corner of the flag. Is that it? So it's blue rectangular, the supporting idea, right?
mhm.
Okay.
It's kind of, describing the flag and kind of taking us through the pieces. So we know that the blue color symbolizes unity, and we would probably say, right, that the unity is because, right, there's okay, different people try to work together. Then we move on to, right, what is on our blue rectangle is the yellow star and the crescent moon. And we know that the moon is a religious symbol standing for Islam. So what do we put as our first detail here?
The yellow color of the king and queen.
Mhm.
Okay. This is a little strange to me. It's like I kind of didn't get it.
So this is a different style of paragraph that we're kind of moving away from our definition paragraphs and going a little bit more into what we would call a spatial descriptive paragraph, which once again, we have some thing or place that we're describing and we want to, kind of, describe the whole thing. And so, we're kind of changing gears with our text here, but good. All right. So you guys found all the information and outlined it good. We better be done for today. And so like I was saying, there's kind of a couple of different patterns that we're going to need to use these in. So we'll continue with this lesson on next Tuesday night. Okay?
Sounds good.